podcast. This is episode 6. I'm your man, Pierre Evans. And what's your name?
Philip Webb. How you doing?
I better known as Stockton and Malone. My guy got the wave. I love it now, man. So let's first of all, how was the how's your week been, man?
Oh, it's been amazing. Great week. And we were just talking about the weather here in Chicago. He says, how's the weather? I said, man, it's gorgeous. It's great right now. The birds are chirping. The guys who got private airplanes. I said, I think it's going to be 40. He said, 40. I said, but that's heaven right now. It was under 25 for about 3 solid weeks. We had a week and a half about zero. The wind was blazing, snowing all the time. And you know what? I'm kind of done with winter. I'm looking forward to spring. So this is much needed and it's very welcome. This 40-degree, super warm weather.
See, that's how you know it's all about perspective, because I'm not going to be in 40 degrees and call it heaven. You know what I mean? Like, it's not heaven. I just came back from back east, and when it was 35, I had the hoodie, zip it up, put the hood on, then put the winter Eskimo coat on, put that hood on. And then I felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was toasty, but I'm not going to call it heaven under any circumstances, like not whatsoever. But today, man, we're talking about control the controllables. Control the controllables. And just to bring this, like, I want y'all, when you listen to this, I want you to think real quick, how many times have you got your ass whipped because you was focused on your uncontrollables, right? You was focused on what was going on with a family member, what was going on with a friend, what was going on with a coworker, what was going on with a business partner, outside of anything that you had any control of. Like there was nothing at all that you can do, but you gave it a lot of your attention. And then the worst part of it is when you went to go call them and follow up to see how everything was going, they hit you and said, what do you mean? No, everything's good. But you've been stressing yourself out over the last 3-4 days and not doing things that you need to be doing for yourself just so you can be a benefit and a help to somebody else, right? So if you was in the mindset of, I'm only focusing on my controllables, if my actions can't directly impact this, then I'm not going to give it no attention, right? So tell me your way, man. What's something, and what was the turning point in your life where you said, you know what, I'm no longer focused, because we all do it, right? We all focus on our non-controllables. What was that point in your life where you said, you know what, man, I'm just worrying about my controllables?
Well, when I'm trying to do a bigger deal or I'm trying to get a new customer and I do what I think and I'm ready for them to buy, and you know what, they're not ready to buy. And then I get all mad. I'm like, I did everything I can do. I don't understand. And I would get mad. And then I bring a lot of that frustration to home. And that's, you know what? And then my wife is she's all up in arms and it's my fault. So I'm out with that. And that's really when it hit home a lot of the times is when I said, I got to be out, because it was really about family, about personal. That's when I'm like, I got to be out. I still do it from time to time. Be honest with you. I'm not a saint, but I really try not to. And I think about that. So what happens is usually when the whole deal is going sideways, it's right when it starts to go sideways that I look at it and say, why, and what's going on? And then when I scale back, then I realize, you know what? I can't control if they do something. I only control what I do. And let's control what I do. And that's not worry about what happens over there. It's hard though. It really is.
Yeah, listen, let's how do we get away from that hard part of it when we're looking at like just our controllables and we're like, man, this is hard. I look at it and say, I gotta set rules, right? I gotta set rules. Like, what are rules that I'm going to live by? What are the things that I'm going to do regardless of what's going on in the world, what's going on outside of me? And I said, okay, well, number one, I'm going to write down what it is I need to do today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing this yesterday. So I'm like, what do I need to do tomorrow? And I'm going to write it down. And then I'm going to say, how much time am I going to commit to this thing? And then I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to say, what am I going to do after that? Right? Well, really, before I say after that, what is the result that I want from this? And these are the things I'm going to focus on. So now when you call me with your little distraction, I know what I have to do. I know why I have to do it. And I know the results that I'm looking to get from it. And I know how much time I'm going to give it. So therefore, I'm going to block everything off that is not tied in to this 2 hours, 3 hours that I dedicated to this one thing. So that might mean sometimes if you know like you're real weak and you're giving to somebody, like, yo, turn your phone off. Because if I don't see your call, I can't answer you. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go to voicemail, cool, you go to voicemail. I'm not going to get that until I put my phone on. So I know that I'm weak. So that means between the hours of 8 a.m. and, 11, 12, I'm turning my phone off. So when you call me, I'm only going to see it when I put my phone back on. So that means now I'm just locked into this. And after setting that rule for myself for a while, it got to the point where I don't have to now. Now I know the benefits of being able to lock into my time because I can control what I do with my time. I can control how I invest my time. And that's all I'm going to worry about. I'm not going to give you the opportunity, man, to throw your foolishness on me. Like I just refuse.
And I remember you always taught everybody, you know what, if you debrief every day, and then you figure out, okay, where did I go off the rails? Then you can walk it back. So the next day you don't necessarily go off the rails. And I remember you were talking about that for years, is debrief every day. And that really helps out. I talked to a lawyer friend of mine, and he was one of those lawyers. I don't know. I think they call a family lawyer. He would help with divorces. Okay. So I guess a divorce lawyer, but I think the category was family lawyer. And I said, man, how do you handle all that? And he says, it's their problems. That's not my problems, Phil. He's like, look, they all have a sense of urgency. They want it done yesterday. It's like, look, I can only do what I can do. And I back that way back. And you know what? I only give them what I can give them. And then that's it. Once that call is done, once I talk to that customer, I move on, because I'm handling their problems. It's not my problem. So I thought, wow, that's good advice, And sometimes what you're talking about, the uncontrollables, that's somebody else's problem. And I'm making it my problem. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, I don't want to do that. And I was talking to a guy the other day. I got into this youth program, and one of the guys, he's a social worker, and he was talking about, different schools that we end up working with. He don't want to, it might be uncomfortable if some of the students actually recognize him. You know what I mean? He said, because I deal with so many students and I hear so many stories, and he was just sharing a little bit without going into detail about it and just sharing a little bit. And I was just like, how do you do it? And even though I know control your controllables, right?
Right.
That's another level. Yeah. Because you're hearing so many different things, like you're seeing different things, and you got to be able to go home at night after you just heard about, some kids that wasn't able to eat for days, like nothing in the house, like bad conditions. And you're sitting down and you're eating, and you're sitting down and you're living your life. Like, yo, how do you do that? And he was like, it took some time. It took some time. And that really, it said to me, there's really levels to this. Levels. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes when you start hearing people talking about steps to stuff and levels to stuff, it's like, yo, on your little planet that you're living in, you're hearing things and you're seeing things, but that same type of problem on a level above you, they're like, oh, that's light. Like that's nothing. But you're looking at it like in your world, like this is big to me. Right. So it really showed me like there's levels, and it made me think like if I was able to get from here to here, then I can truly work with the people below me, because there's so many levels to this. And I think what I do is easy. Like when I'm like, nah, set your rules, set your boundaries, do this, do that, live by that, get your block of time. But yo, when we start talking about the kids and what they gotta go, like I'm like, I'm not there. Like I'm not ready for that. I don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say your problem might seem huge, but it's not as big as you think it is.
Not as big as you think.
You might think you're facing like a heavy obstacle. It's really not that big. But the problem is you're talking to other people whose problems are down here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Your circle's not elevating. So you might have elevated to the top of your circle. So when you got a problem, you really feel by yourself. But yo, understand someone has a bigger one, right? And then what another time that made me really think about that is when I was homeless. And I fell asleep in the car, and I had on my army fatigue jacket, and I still got the coat, right? And I had my arms inside the coat, and I'm like this, and I'm in the car, and I finally fell asleep, and I woke up. I literally, man, like no exaggeration, probably 10, 15 minutes before I just froze to death. When I did get up, I had to like pull it was like a Chicago, you know what I'm saying? It was like,
I know that cold. I know how that cold is. Yeah, no.
Yo, it was bad. Like I laugh with it now, but I'm really trying to like pry my hands open. You know what I'm saying? Like it took a minute to like be able to do this. Like you would never think like this would be hard.
Yeah.
Listen, I was 18 years old and I couldn't close my hands. And I walked up to the Dunkin' Donuts and I'm inside the Dunkin' Donuts and I got me a hot chocolate and a blueberry muffin. I have $5. I think I got like $1 and some change back. But right now I probably couldn't even buy a hot chocolate and a blueberry muffin with $5, right? And don't go as far.
No.
But I'm in there and I was complaining and I said, I'm gonna go sit over here because I'm not sitting with the homeless people, but I was homeless just like they was. They didn't have a key in their pocket that fit any door in the world, and nor did I. But I went over there and I was sitting there and the dude came in and he was in a wheelchair and he had no legs and one of his hands was missing. And I'm like, yo, we're both homeless, but he's homeless on another level.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like I got all my limbs, like I can still run around and do stuff. He's homeless on another level. So yeah, I felt I was in a bad situation, but my man was in a worse situation. And that helped me to really think, man, like, yo, I got to control my controllables. And I also got to remember that what's bad to me, man, is really not bad to someone else. Like they would love to be in my spot. And someone wants to be in your spot, just not you right now, because you don't see the value of your spot.
Yeah. Well, it can always be worse. You got to think that it can always be worse, but you know what? A lot of times it can always be better. So, you know, I try to make it better. I remember when we were, you know, building the YouTube channel and I was getting frustrated because we weren't getting any views. And I just like, look, I'm doing all I can, I understand, but I couldn't control it. To go back to what we're talking about is to control the controllables. But what I could control is I could control making a video every week. I could control making sure that it was edited and doing that on a consistent basis and being consistent. And if people commented, then we responded to the comments. I could control that. Whether or not they watched it or not, I couldn't control that. So we focused on the things we could control. And over time, then we get, you know what, we get 1 or 2 people would watch it. Then some people were commented on it. And then I started getting some traction and I'm just being consistent because what I was taught is control what I could and keep doing what we're supposed to do. And things, I guess the chips will fall when they may is, I guess some of the, you know, the lingo, but that's what we were trying to do. And if I did that philosophy over and over again, it seems to work. And then you don't get as frustrated because usually it's the stuff that in life, it's the stuff that I can't control that I get frustrated with when somebody, you know, does something. Let's say you get electric bill and you're like, man, why did that go up? It's like, well, I can't, I mean, I guess you can reverse and say, well, if I shut the lights off more, maybe I can control that. But sometimes you get that big bill and you can't control it right away. So
you're being there just running around with a candle, like
yeah, right.
turn that switch off, like you just got the candle. So you can control it,
right.
But you can also control that small increase doesn't impact you the way it does today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So when you sit there and you look at it, you're like, and some of the things, man, some people be like, well, it's out of my control. It went up. All right, cool. But what can you control? Yep. It's out of my control that this happened. Okay, cool. What can you control? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, man, we'll have long discussions about things being out of our control or the impact that things that we can't control are causing us. And because we get caught up in that impact, then we forget all about thinking about the things that could change that impact. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I'm sitting down today and putting my calendar together. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, man, this calendar is full with stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's too much on this calendar. Like, this calendar seems overwhelming. And I had to say to myself, yo, relax. You're looking at the full calendar. You just need to look at this block of time.
Yes.
So I couldn't control the stuff that needed to be on my calendar, right? Not that I want on my calendar, but the stuff that needs to be on my calendar. I can't control that. But what I can control is how I look at it, how I break it down. How do I get it to a point where my mind, my little old mind, can comprehend the stuff that's on this calendar? And then I started to say, okay, cool, let's just show me the day. And then just show me this block. And I'm just living one block at a time. And I just know when I get done on this street, I got to turn down this street. When I'm done on that street, I got to turn down this street. And it's a roadmap to be able to get yourself to the position you want to be in. So when your electricity bill go up $30, it don't matter. Oh, $30, it go up $500. Oh, no problem. Cool. Because I've been following this process. That this process says if you stay on it long enough and you do the right things, then what's going to happen now is you're going to be able to take care of these other things that was out of your control, right? Like, so it's really, man, the way you look at it and then that perception. So I just definitely think that when we're talking about control the controllables, number one, we need to sit down and we need to write out, you know, what are your controllables? What can you control? And start with yourself. know what I'm saying? So many times, man, people will sit down, you ask them that, and they start looking around like, yep, I can control that one there, and I can control. Nah, like, yo, start in the mirror. Like, it begins in the mirror. What can you control about that person that's in the mirror? Start with that being your first controllable, and then from there, just graduate.
Right. And even it's just so simple as just your attitude and your time. I mean, we could break it way down to ridiculous, like you always say. We can just talk about what can I control? I can control my attitude, how I view on a situation, and I can control my time. It's like, well, maybe I need to get up a little earlier, or maybe I got to stay up a little later, and control the time you put into some event to help you get to that next level. So it could just be as simple as that. That's it. I mean, and then start there, and you can build from there. And you don't have to worry about when stuff comes out of nowhere. It's just like you said, and you're like, you get all frustrated because that came out of nowhere. Okay, well, how do you react to that? And then don't, so my buddy yesterday was telling me, him and his wife, he's like, I'm done with this coronavirus. I'm tired of it. He's like, I want to see some of my friends. I want to go somewhere. We want to go out to dinner. My wife's all jazzed up about the corona. She don't want to do anything. And I'm just over it. And what happened is another buddy he was looking forward to, they want to go out to pizza or something in the neighbors, and his daughter was exposed to corona at their school. And so they had to tell the people, hey, our daughter got exposed. We probably you maybe don't want to go. And he was stressing about this whole situation all day. And he was on what I always called red line or on 10. So he came home and his wife said something, they went at it. And all it was is he just was looking forward to going out and having some pizza with the friends. And then what happened, it just turned out, they told the friends this happened. The friends were like, I don't care. We haven't seen each other. We want to go out. We've been locked up. And so they went out and they had a good time. But he was because he was just all worried about what was going to happen, and he didn't even know yet. So, and that's something that happens all the time. But he just lost his mind for a little, and he didn't control it. So
yeah. What would be one of the things, man, you think like in not you think, but one of the things when you look at business, right? Just in business in general, that you let consume you, right? Like you let consume you, that you, instead of you focusing on the controllable, you focused on the uncontrollable, something you had no say over, nothing. What's one of them things, man, that did that to you?
One of the things is always, it's always what you think the customer is going to say. So what is the customer? I got this situation, and what is that customer going to say? And do I want to have that? I don't want to have the discussion. And you start stressing out about that. I can't control what that other customer is going to say. What I can control is my attitude. I can't control what I know about the situation, the points that I want to hit, and the presentation. I can't control that. Whether the customer buys or doesn't buy, or signs a deal or doesn't sign a deal, I can't get mad at that. And a lot of times you got to focus on just yourself, what know your material, know how to present it, and then let the chips fall where they may. And if you get the deal, then you're all excited. And once you get that deal, my recommendation is go try to get the next deal, because you can go off that high. But if you don't get it, don't beat yourself up. Learn from your mistakes and say, okay, next time I'm going to do this because this is where it went sideways. And, in the longer you're in business, the easier that gets. But in the beginning, don't stress out about either you didn't get the deal or because they didn't want it. It's not your fault. Did
it cost you money though? Do you think like you focusing on your uncontrollables? Do you think it cost you, and how much you think it cost you?
Yeah, of course it costs money, because you're focusing on somebody else that you don't have any control on, and that's always a challenge. So I try not to focus on it. I just try to learn from my mistakes, and then change the deal next time so we get that deal, or I got a better chance of closing rate, or a better chance to make that deal. That's because I can't control, because the customers always go sideways for a bunch of different reasons, and I can't control any of that. So I always focus on what I can control and then present it to the best way.
Yeah, no, it was, I did the same thing. When you're sitting there and you're working with somebody, and you have, like, you're trying to base your number, the number you want to give them, right, that you're charging them, you want to base that number based on what you think their pockets look like, right? Like you look like you can only afford this, or you look like you're not really gonna pay this, right?
Right.
And the minute I shifted that thing, man, and I started to say, I don't know. Are you an investor or are you a spender? Like I started asking myself that question when I'm talking to people. So I started to come up with different ways and different questions to ask individuals, right? To see like, are you an investor or are you a spender? I want to know like what your personality traits are. And I know we look at like different assessments and things of that nature. We try to figure people out, but it's really like when I see someone, like for instance, if I'm talking to someone, I ask the question like, is this your first time looking at a program like this? Or is this something that you do quite often? Oh man, we do it all the time. You're an investor now. You see what I'm saying? I'm looking at you like, oh, you invest, so you know things cost. All right, cool. If you're like, nah, we never did it, we thought about it, that tells me like, oh, you heard the numbers and it pushed you back a little bit. Right. So now I'm like, okay, now I know how to talk to you. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to give you a less number. It's not about giving you less. It's about giving you more value. Right. It's about really helping you to understand. So I took the uncontrollable of me not knowing, right? I couldn't control whether you said yes. I couldn't control how much you had in your account. I couldn't control what you wanted to invest, but I could control the fact of getting you looking at it as an investment versus looking at it as a spending. Right. And if I can do the difference of them two, now I might be able to get you to go a little deeper and see like, oh, I'm not spending on it. I am investing. This is the benefit that I'm getting from this. This is what it's going to do for me and my team, me and my organization. So I started to look at it that way, man, and just say, what questions can I ask you to see what your current your controllables, right? How do you look at the things you control? And then if it's in alignment with the way I'm feeling, then I'm going to approach this way. If not, then I'm going to approach this way. But I'm going to have one of these two ways to go because either one of these is something that I want to give you the option so you can control what avenue you want to take because people like to be in control, right?
Do you teach? I mean, like that's a great situation. Do you teach that in your program as what questions to ask so they can better control the deal for themselves to try to position themselves in a position of strength? So whatever product they're selling or a product they're trying to help out somebody else, they know what questions you teach that in the program.
Yeah, we talk about the whole thing, and this is the thing. It shifts for each individual. The concept's just the same, right. So when we're sitting here, we're looking. I don't care if you're selling a $500 set of knives or you're selling a program. Like it really doesn't matter. These are just different questions that you ask. And we definitely go over the whole sales process of it. And this is once individuals understand and control their product or service before they just start trying to put it out there and they don't control it yet, meaning they don't know the ins and outs of it. They don't know how it works. So they're able to you got to be able to fine tune what it is that you do. And I think people don't understand some of the things that they have control over. And they let people take control of them, right? So you got to also understand what your controllables are. Because if you don't, other people will have you buy into their controllables. So now the situation becomes uncontrollable by you. Right. And it flips the whole situation around. But when you know, like, okay, these are my controllables. You can say this to me, but I control whether I say yes. I control whether I say no. I control how I respond to you. Right? I control how I react to you. And once you understand this, it makes that person across from you where, listen, I'm not even in a conversation with you. I'm really in a conversation with myself. I'm paying attention to me. And I know what my boundaries are. I know what my limits are. And I'm going to control this by this way. So you can only say no or yes or maybe only so many different ways. And that means I just need to have control myself enough to say, okay, if you say this, I got 5 different ways to overcome that. If you say this, I got 5 different ways to overcome that. Now I become the controller of my controllables.
And I don't want to blaze over that because I want to circle back on what you said, because I remember your program did do that and it broke down things, because what you would do is you say, you would position yourself, you would teach me how to position myself in a position of strength to ask the right questions to get the right results. So it was easier for me to do whatever I was trying to do. And I remember that was part of your program. So, I mean, we applied that. And what we did is for your program, we took that into our program. And what we said this is like, when people we teach people how to get ATMs into businesses. And one of the things, one of the challenges they had is I said, look, what we want to do is when we want to get right off the bat, we put you in a position of strength. We want you to get your location owner to sign an agreement. And we always try it for a 5-year agreement. That's our part. I just said, so what we want to do is how we put you in a position of strength is by you setting that expectation up front. If you don't do that, what happens is you go in a trial basis, put that ATM in a trial basis. Once that ATM performs, now you're in a position of weakness because now that the location owner can negotiate a better deal. We're not cheating them, but what we are doing is putting you in a position of strength. And it's by asking the right questions and teaching you the right process. And that's just like what your program did. It helped a lot of people ask the right questions so they can get the right results.
Yeah, people think too much, man, that sales is all about, hey, come here, buy this.
Right. It's not.
Hey, come here, buy. Like, nah, like don't get me wrong. You got to be able to ask for it, but you got to be able to have something to stand on when you ask. Some people want to shake their hands and be like, hey, you want to take a look at this? Like, yo, number one, I'm looking at it a few different ways. If I know that I'll never, ever see you again in my life, right? Like I got one shot. And after this one shot, I'm never going to see you. I'm going to be a little more aggressive with the sales process, right? I'm going to ask you questions that are more edgy because I'll never see you again. So I got one shot and I'm not trying to let this one shot go. I'm pulling everything out. But if I know that I'm going to see you again and again and again, then I don't need to be so hard. I can relax now. And I could take my time, not meaning I'm not going to ask on this first visit when we're meeting, but I'm going to really collect data. I'm going to collect enough data because that's my controllable, right? So if you're in sales and you're selling something, a product or a service, understand like the more information you gather, the better opportunity you have to get to the yes. Because now what happens is you control what you ask. They control how they answer, but based on the way you ask, you can also control the answer, right? So if I'm sitting in front of you and you're sitting with your wife and I'm saying to you, listen, would you, at minimum, if something happened with you, would you want your wife's life to remain the same or get worse? Bruh, if I just asked you that in front of your wife, you can't look at your wife and say, yo, I want my wife's life to get worse. You know what I'm saying? You're going to turn and you're going
question, right?
Right. She's looking at you like, well, I would want it to be better. Right. Like she done added better. I didn't even add better. She did. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. I would want it to get better. You know what I mean? Great. You just answered I controlled that.
Yes.
You didn't control. I took your controllable and I controlled your controllable with the question. So now when you say yes, I'm like, listen, I got a couple ways that we can make that happen. Are you interested in it getting better? The wife's, he's like, yeah.
You better answer yes if you're smart.
So, and again, man, it is just being able to understand what you do in and out. Right. Knowing the ins and outs of it, so you don't get lost in your uncontrollables. And once you do this a few times, you now start to be like, okay, hold on, I can't control that. Is there ways I can control it with questions? Is there ways I can control it with an action? No, cool. Not gonna worry about it. Let somebody else deal with it, and you're gonna stay right here inside of your controllables. And listen, it's hard sometimes.
It's very
and it's hard because you want to control something and you can't, and it bothers you, like it keeps you up at night. You can't sleep. Listen, you can control whether you lay down and close your eyes and go to sleep. Mm-hmm. You can control if you got the energy to get up the next morning so that you can fight even harder until you figure out how you can control your uncontrollable. And if you know you can't, then just let it go and focus on controllables. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many different ways to look at it. I don't want to make it seem like it's just cut and dry. Like, oh, I can control it. Great. I can't. Great. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes there's a little more than that. Like it goes a little deeper. And sometimes we look at an uncontrollable and we overlook the fact that we can control it. We just got to change something about us. You know what I'm saying? Like your mind is so screwed up that you're only looking at it one dimensional. So it seems like you can't control it. But if you really analyze this thing, there's a way you can control it, but it's hard. And it's going to put you through some rocky stuff. You're going to have to go through some mental pain. You're going to have to go through some emotional pain. But if you go through these things, then you can control that too. So don't just be like, oh, can't control it, I'm done. Nah, like look at it like, yo, is there a way that I can? And that way is
you got to reverse engineer that. You got to pull that thing back a couple, 2-3 layers sometimes, say, look, if I went down this path, I could control the situation. But if I made this decision, then I can't. And so, I mean, and I always take this back to like the location agreements for our ATMs. And what happens is so I'm rocking with this customer. We place the ATM, no contract. They're doing some money. And then what happens is maybe the store owner changes or the manager changes, or I had a relationship with that store owner. And then, you know what, something changes. And now the owner isn't really necessarily the decision maker. Maybe they put their nephew in. So now the nephew is, and you know what, I see the nephew, everything's great. But what happens is now the nephew has a buddy who's in the ATM business. And he says, you know what, Phil, you know what, I like you and all, but my buddy's in the ATM business now. We're going to go with my buddy. And now I get all mad. Right? I'm like, we didn't do anything wrong. He says, no, everything's great. I'm just going to start rocking with my buddy. Well, it's a bad situation. Here's the challenge. If I would have did my thing up front and got a location agreement off the jump, now what happens is we don't care about his buddy because they're locked into a deal and we're going to do business. And you know what? Maybe the nephew goes on his way in 2 to 3 months. And then that's it. But I'm locked in a deal. But if I don't do that, if I don't control that situation up front, now I'm out on my ear and his buddy's in and we didn't do anything wrong, but we lost that business. So that's something we can control.
So if we look at it like one step further, right? Because that happens a lot, man. Like someone say, oh, I'm going to bring my friend in. Great, you're going to bring your friend in. But is there a way, right? Like we can control us adding more value. Right. And don't get me wrong, we can't overturn all friends. Some of them is just not going to turn. But if we make it to the point where, oh yeah, no, they don't do that. Like, I'm not going to miss out on that. Like, I'm asking the question. I'm saying like, listen, okay, cool. Like, I get it. You know, you have a friend and you got a relationship. That's a wonderful thing. But if we can add this, right? If we go ahead and add this, which is another, you know, $2,000 value,
right?
You know, is your friend willing to give you $2,000? Like, I'm asking that question straight up because your friend is not going to go in the pocket and give you $2,000.
No.
You know what I mean? Like they're giving the contract with you. You're doing whatever. That's great. That's wonderful. But are they giving you this extra $2,000 worth of value? Right. And like, would they do that for you? And if they're like, well, no, probably not. Well, probably so not. No. Is it you being the friend or is it them being the friend?
Right.
And then I'm shutting up. Like, I'm not even like, is it you being a friend or is it them being a friend?
There's that question. That's a great question. Write that down. For you guys at home, you should write that down. Are you being a friend or are they being a friend? Because it seems like you're being a friend to them, but they're just going to give you the same deal or probably a less deal that we're giving you. But now you're being the friend to them. Okay, well, you know, you got to, that's a great question. You should write that down. I'm going to write that down too.
We gotta ask these things though, man. Like, yo, I get it. Like, we got friends. Everybody got friends. Cool, but to what extent? Like, how deep are they gonna go? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they really gonna give you? Like, friendship doesn't mean discount. You know what I'm saying? Friendship doesn't mean I have to do business with you. Like, if you're my friend, like, there's times I'm like, yo, like, all right, cool. I can afford to just give this to you. I'm just gonna give it to you. Like, I don't want that. Like, yo, here, have that. Like, you're my buddy. You see what I'm saying? You're my man. Like, yo, here, take that. If I paid for it, like, yo, give me what I paid for it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's cool. I might not sit there and make, you know, $1,000 from you, but I make it from somebody else. But I'm like, yo, give me what I paid for it, man. Like, we good. You know what I'm saying? Give me $3 more. Like, I'm good. And there's some people you be like, yo, just give me $3 more. They're like, man, why can't I just give you what we, like, bro, like, am I a friend or you the friend? Right. Well, we friends. Because if I'm just asking for $3, you might be like, yo, you don't really need $3. Bro, I had to pay some shipping. You talking about just the product itself. And why do I got to explain $3? Right. You see what I'm saying? And that's, I think sometimes, man, people are afraid to question the relationships that they have for whatever reason. I don't know what your reason is, but you're afraid to question the relationship. A win-win literally means I win and you win. If I'm telling you, like, my guy one day called me and I said, yo, man, I want to jump on a call with you. I'll get some information. I know you got this program. I just want to talk if we can get like an hour. My man was like, yo, yeah. Like, yo, it's 500. We'll jump on the call, man, and whatnot. I was like, all right, cool. I sent them I PayPal'd them the $500. And I hit him. I was like, yo, I just sent it over. And he was like, yep, I seen that come through. He was like, let's jump on. So we ended up jumping on a call, and it was supposed to be an hour, and we ended up on a call for 3 hours. And he was like, yo, I ain't even really think you was gonna give me the money. I was just gonna have a call with you. I said, bro, I'm gonna take an hour from your family for you to sit on the call with me and give me information that I'm gonna be able to use. I'm like, nah, like you wanted 5, I'm gonna give you the 5.
Right.
And that's friends. You see what I'm saying? Like you ask for something and he charges more, but that's what he told me. So I'm giving that to you. So you're gonna take your family and give that to them. Why would I want to have you feed my family with information, but I can't feed your family with a currency?
Right.
Like that just doesn't add up. You know what I'm saying? So I think that win-win, and we take that friendship thing way too far. Way too far. Yeah,
well,
like just because I earn,
you're always teaching that mental toughness, confidence, and self-esteem. And I think part of that mental toughness is the ability to basically control the controllables. And I see that in everyday situation. You just got to be strong enough to understand, you know what, it's not always about you. There's other things that you can control, and you have to believe in yourself enough to be there, and I know you have your program that does that, teaches that.
Yeah, I be seeing people, man. I'd be like, yo, how you let your family like just run all over you like that? Like how you like how you do that? And sometimes, man, I think people just don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? Like they can do without. Like I need you to be on my team, right? I need you to be on my side. No, I don't. Like I don't need you to be on my side if you're just gonna hurt me. And sometimes people don't know they're hurting you until you let them know that they're hurting you, right? And what I mean is someone can be taking away like your controllables by putting their pains on you. But because every time they put their pain on you, you're there and you help them and you never say no, they think that it's okay to do it. They don't think that, man, when we get off the phone, the person I just called is depressed. Like I just brought them down. I just took them away from something that they could have been doing, because you always make yourself available. Sometimes by you saying no, you're showing them that, listen, man, they must really be busy. And people are going to say, well, now they're saying no, and they're going to talk about you, but it's okay. Stick to your guns. And over time, they'll start to realize that, wow, they were saying no because they got so much on their plate. But when people don't think your plate's full because you always make time for them, when you don't make time for them, now they're looking at you like you're funny. I'm not making time. I don't have time, man, during these hours. Call me after that. Call me after 6. You know what I'm saying? Then you got a 50-50 shot. You call me before 6, you got a 0% shot.
0%. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like my mom know now. My mom, she called me after the hours. You know what I'm saying? Because unless it's urgent. If it's not urgent, don't call me right now. I'm in my controllables.
Right.
I deal with
and what did you do in that situation? You control it. Even your mom. You said, look, if it's an emergency, I'm here for you. But I gotta hit it hard between these hours. Afterwards, I'm all for you. We just want to shoot the breeze. And before, no problem. But during this time, unless something's really serious, and I'm there for you, Mom. But during this time, I gotta hit it hard. I'm working. So that you control your time. That's what we talked about before, controlling your time. Well, you can control that.
Some people like, I'm working, but then make time for non-work things.
Yeah.
like I'm working. Yo, there was a time that somebody called me and asked me something, and I was like, oh man, I'm working. And then I think I had posted a video probably like 15 minutes later, and I was having lunch. I was somewhere else having lunch. And they sent me a text like, man, I was trying to talk to you for a minute. You told me you was working. Now you're having lunch. Like, bruh, like, are you serious?
Right.
Like, I was working. I got hungry. Right. Yeah. I'm eating. And while I'm eating, I'm still processing stuff I was working on and coming up with new ideas or whatever I'm doing, or I'm just eating. But at the end of the day, I blocked them.
Right.
Because I found that to be so disrespectful, because I don't have time to talk to you about whatever your issue was. You're going to send me a text message like you monitoring me? Like, that just don't work for me, man. So I blocked him. And I just think, man, individuals, man, got to get to the point where you're 100% focused on, I just want to give my life to my controllables, stuff I can't control. I want to look at it a little closer to see if there's a way I can stretch myself to make this uncontrollable controllable. And if I can, then I'm going to work on doing that. So now it becomes something else I add to my list that is a controllable. And if I can't, then can I pay somebody to do it. And if I can't pay somebody to do it, then be gone. I can't worry about it. But if we're giving our time and stuff, like I can't worry about what the weather does.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I can't control it. I can't worry about what the stock market does. I can't control it. If you want to book an event in a city where the weather's unpredictable, like Colorado, like have a plan B. Because if we plan something outside, even if it's in the summer, we might need to have an inside alternate just because the way the weather works. If we're planning something in the stock market, we might want to have some money somewhere else because we know the market's not, we can't control that. So if you're playing in uncontrollable areas, understand what the consequences are and also what the rewards can be. And ask yourself, am I ready to take the consequence? If it doesn't work out, I know I want the reward, but am I ready to take the consequence? And if you're not, then stop playing in them waters. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing in all the waters though.
So and you said, about time, control your time. So and now I'm going to give a little tip that I learned out there in the street a lot of times, and people respect this saying. I don't know why, but they do. So the other day we're in the car. I picked my daughter up from school. We were going to a little event for a little practice for her. And I was the sales guy called me and we were going and I was answering questions. We got to the event. I said, hey man, I got to cut you loose here. I'm going to this meeting. He's like, oh geez, I'm sorry. And my daughter looked at me and said, Daddy, we're doing our thing. And I said, I know, but he won't understand that. But if I tell him on a meeting, he's all good with that. He's okay, go ahead. So I learned that long time ago. If you say, hey, I'm going to a meeting, you know what? People respect that. If you say, hey, I spent some time with my daughter, hey, you got 5 more minutes? They don't respect that. So you know what? I do that meeting thing from time to time when I'm with my family, and I'm giving my secrets away here on the call, but it works. People respect that for whatever reason. That is that. And hey, I'm getting on an airplane. Those two things are a lock every time.
One of the things I picked up a long time ago is when you see people walking fast, they always look like they got somewhere to go. If someone's just walking and they're slow, you don't really talk to them. You know what I'm saying? I was walking through the mall one day and I noticed I was sitting down and my wife was in the store and I'm sitting down and you walk by like the different kiosks and there's like, you want a sample? Everybody that was walking by like, pew, pew. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't catch eye contact with the people, just walk. They won't say nothing to them. Soon as somebody walks by, you want to try this? Or if you're walking by and you're like, hey, you want to try this? So we'll be walking by, say to my wife, like, yo, speed up a little bit. Don't even look at them. Just go.
Right.
And listen, they don't stop you. So I took that one step further. I was like, yo, if you're in the store, if you're in a building and it's a bunch of people, walk fast and just keep looking straight ahead and look like you're on a mission. People don't want to interrupt people that are on a mission. But if you look like you're lost, if you look like you're in cloud 9, like, people want to talk to you all day long and they'll keep interrupting what you're doing. So that's what it comes back, right? Going one step further up, when you have work to do, have your work in front of you and have it lined up like a ladder, right? Step, 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 step. And then at the end, what it is that you want, and stay on that. And it's the same thing, right? Your phone rings. That's just like walking by the kiosk. Don't pick it up. I went one step further. I pushed the button. You know how like when you push the button, this is the thing. If your phone rings, people are like, oh, they might be sleeping.
Right.
Maybe they just walked away from the phone for a minute. Maybe they just going to the bathroom. Now I'll call back in a couple minutes.
Right.
And then the phone rings again. But if you hit the button, they're like, they just hit the button. Yeah, my phone's in my hand, bro. I hit the button on you. You know what I'm saying? It tells people like, oh, they must be doing something. So I hit the button. It's not a secret. I'm not just not taking your call. I'm not taking your call because I'm doing something. It's my control because it's my phone. And because it's my phone, I control who comes in and who stays in. All right. So when you call me, I'll hit the button. So if you ever ring once, twice, and you go to voicemail, listen, don't call me back. Don't call me. I'll call you when I get around to it. I sent you the voicemail so we can cut through the chase. I'm trying to save you time. So you don't have to listen to all them rings just to get to where I can send you in 2 rings. You see what I'm saying? Like
we got a name for that when they swipe it right to swipe the right to voicemail. Like, oh man.
Yeah, I send you there in 2 rings. Why you want 10? Like I'm gonna start. So next time someone calls me, I hit the button on them, and they say to me, "Why? Like, why you send me the voicemail?" I'm like, I saved you 8 rings.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I saved you 8 rings, bro. I'm worried about your time.
I'm helping you. Well, you're helping them with their time, and you know what, when we take it a step further, we're all trying to control our own time. I mean, when you talk to anybody, it's like, what do you want in life? It's like, look, I want to be able, for me, it was always, I want to be able to control my own time. I don't want somebody dictating me where I got to spend my time. I want to control my own time. If I want to spend with the family, or or I want to go somewhere, I want to be able to control that. So that's, I think, the utopic situation is that, hey, we all want to be able to control our own time. So that's the goal. But you can control your own time in little sections by doing something like you said. Look, you don't want to talk to somebody, just write the voicemail. I'll get you back when I got time. And right now, it's not a good time. Maybe I was walked in the house, I want to spend with my wife. Maybe the kids are doing something. That's, I'll get you later. So,
what's crazy though? The people that don't respect that don't value their own time. Like just start to watch and start to really pay attention to what individuals do. When individuals reach out to you and you're like, hey, I'm busy. I just picked up, man. I just want to let you know. I'll call you back later. Oh, hey. And they want to do that. You'll notice them are the people that they're not busy. They don't understand what it's like to be busy. But if you say that to somebody who's busy, they're going to be like, oh man, no worries. You shouldn't even have picked up. Call me later when you get a minute. Done. You see what I'm saying? But from out of respect, you try to just like do it for certain individuals. Like when my coach called me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what I'm doing, man, unless I'm in the middle, if I'm presenting, you know what I'm saying? But if I got my phone to where it rings, if I'm talking like a deal and locking something down, that's one thing. But if I'm in a conversation, if me and you were talking and he calls me, I'm gonna be like, hey, excuse me 1 second. Hey, what's going on, man? And I'm gonna answer the phone. Why? Because he's not calling me for nothing. You see what I'm saying? He's either sharing something with me or he needs something from me. And I want to make sure like I get him what he needs and I'm able to assist when I can. So I'm going to answer that call. That call gets that. And there's some people that get priority calling. And there's some people that don't. Like you don't get priority calling. And that's okay. We don't have to give it to everybody. It's like you called me and I was like, I was knocked out. I was up with my daughter. And you called me and you sent me a text like, hey, you all right? Because usually you answer because you're on a priority call list. I always answer. If I don't answer, then there's a reason I'm not answering. And you knew, so you sent me the follow-up text. You called, I didn't answer and I didn't call back in a certain amount of time. You sent me the follow-up text. Why? Because you're on the call list. So I'm answering your calls. And I didn't.
I knew that time because you always hit me back right. I mean, look, at a given amount of time, but there was nothing. And we had it when we kind of had a time set that we were going to chat anyways. And then I'm like, man, something happened because it's always like this, especially when you kind of make a plan or something. You say, hey, let's chat tomorrow, and tomorrow comes and, something goes, something's up,
So you got to look at people. And see like, yo, what are their behaviors? And if their behaviors are messed up, like, I'm out. Like, I don't even want, like, I don't need to talk to you. You see what I'm saying? Like, nah, no way. But I just think, man, we got to just be conscious of, number one, know what our controllables are, and then our uncontrollables, man. Let's figure out how to make them controllable the best we can. And sometimes it's just being able to mentally deal with it, not being a controllable, right? Sometimes it's being able to not let your uncontrollable affect your day. Sometimes that's the way to deal with it, by not dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's like, yo, let me focus so hard on my controllables that I can actually go out here and win, and I can pay somebody who knows how to deal with this thing here. So for them, it becomes a controllable. They can deal with it, and it makes my life easier, right? So just like figure that out, man. So sit down today and write down like what your controllables are and own them. And then your uncontrollables, like own them too. You know what I'm saying? Own them too, like that. That's the easiest way to do it.
Right. And then anything, and I want to just follow up with that is anytime you get in a situation where you get frustrated, debrief that situation, reverse engineer it, look at it and say, why am I all upset about that? And you'll find that in somewhere in the line of scope, it's you didn't do something. And now because you didn't do something else happened. And then now you're all frustrated with that. And so what you got to do is, you know what, next time you get in that situation, either try to avoid getting all the way down the road and say, set those boundaries, say, look, I need to do this, or that's going to happen again. But if you don't debrief, like you always tell us to do, you're going to have that situation over and over and over again.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's why it's extremely important to know, like, what is this action? What is the result that I want from this action? You know what I'm saying? Like, people be overlooking the simple stuff. Like, you asking yourself questions too, not just asking other people questions, but what am I looking to achieve from this action? And if I'm starting an action and I know the outcome I want from the action, that means anything that comes in between me and the outcome that is not tied into the action, to the outcome I want, then it's easy not to mess with you. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be so tight on what we do, and that will help us to not even see the uncontrollables and just focus on this controllable that's in front of us, man.
Right. That's the best way.
That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. So I want to do is zoom, and I was about to get it out of the way. Took it way back. Listen, man, anything you want to leave them with, man, before we jump off?
All I wanted to say is anytime things go sideways, and I would revert what I said before, is anytime things go sideways, debrief the situation, and you will find that there was something in there that you could have controlled, but what happened is you didn't take those initial steps in the beginning, and then you were left with something now that you can't control. So look, reverse engineer that thing, figure out what you could control in the beginning of the situation, and I guarantee every time it'll change what happens later.
Listen, after all of that being said, all I want you to do is focus on your controllables. Right. If it's not in your controllables, man, don't pay it no mind. You want to make every day a mission to get to a breaking point, and then you want to focus on you pushing beyond that breaking point, right? So once you gave all you can, let's go ahead and do some more, and let's keep moving forward. I'm Pierre. That's my man, Phil. I'm Malone. That's Stockton. Fifth quarter. No needed approval, man. We're done. We appreciate y'all.
All right. See you guys next time. Thank you.